welcome to episode 11 of All the Stitches. This is a show about quilting, knitting, cross-stitch, needlework, and whatever other craftiness I might be up to. My name is Colleen, and I'm coming to you from the Lakes region of New Hampshire in the United States. Today's show is going to be Starts and Finishes 2, because I've already had a Starts and Finishes show. I'm thinking that a Starts and Finishes show can probably run every month, month and a half or so if I keep up this pace. So I'm going to give it a shot. And the first thing I want to do though is mention quickly, I want to give a shout out to Davina of Little Workroom Crafts. She has a podcast, she has an Etsy shop where she sells project bags. I think she's dyeing her own yarn. She is making progress keepers and that kind of thing. Check out her Etsy shop, and please check her out on YouTube because she does a real delightful show. It's a nice little weekly visit with Davina. And I also want to thank her ever so much. She mentioned me and gave me a shout out, and she mentioned this All the Stitches podcast, and I so appreciate it. And as a result, I've gotten so many new subscribers. So I want to thank Davina so much, and I want to thank all my new subscribers and people that have checked this out more recently due to Davina's recommendation. Thank you, Davina. You're a sweetheart. And I should say, Davina is a knitter, a quilter, cross-stitch, and all kinds of crafts, really very much like what I'm doing here. I think that's why we've connected online. So I'm going to jump right into it because I'm sitting here very obviously wearing one of my finishes. This is the super simple summer sweater, which is a mouthful. And the pattern is by Hohi Locatelli, and I'm not going to get up and model it, but I will put up some still pictures that I've taken above so you can see what it looks like. Oh, it's a great pattern. It was so simple. I think I knit it in I meant to check. I knit it in just a few weeks, which is really good for me for a full-length sweater. It fits well, and I'm very happy with it. The yarn I've mentioned before is Plucky Knitter Scholar 2.0. It's a fabulous yarn. I just love it's not just a flat yarn. It has a coloration in it. I used the 3 different, here's one. I've used 3 different blue stripes. It's a beautiful yarn, a beautiful pattern, really quick, and I'm really happy with it. So that's finish 1. Now finish 2, I finally finished. Farm Girl Fall Pillow and cross stitch. The cross stitch pattern is by Lori Holt, and I made it into a pillow much like she did. Mine turned out different size, and I made it a little different than Lori Holt's pattern, but I'm really happy with it. These are some fabrics that I picked up from her Lori Holt line, and what it is actually one fabric that's printed with these stripes of colors. So I just cut out the stripes so that it looks like I had several different fabrics, and then I bought some red of her red as the yardage. When I make a pillow, I make this envelope style so you can just tuck the pillow form inside, and then if you want to wash it, you can pull it off. Not so sure about washing cross stitch, but probably delicately or just soaking would be fine. But I don't think it's going to get a lot of abuse. It's just going to sit on my couch, which it has been doing. So that is Farm Girl Fall by Lori Holt. My next finish is Autumn Medley. The cross stitch pattern is by Heart and Hand, and I just thought it was adorable. And it came with, I totally forgot when I started to make this. I totally forgot that it came with this little button set. You see the top, the little candies, so the little sweets. And then there was 2 fall buttons down by the leaf. And then in the bottom, there's a little acorn. So it's counted cross stitch on 14 count Aida in oatmeal, because that's what I had. And instead of framing, I made a little quilt out of it. All I did was lay it on a piece of batting, make a little border, and I did a couple of quilting stitches. I actually just quilted around on the Aida, quilted around this section. I quilted around this section inside the border, and then put a binding on it. And there's the back. I love these little heart and hand patterns. And somebody once told me I was struggling with counted cross stitch just really because of vision issues. And somebody once told me, just get patterns that have words and letters, and it'll make a huge difference. And I have to say, she was absolutely right about that. Something very easy about stitching words and letters. So my next finish is this. I don't think I've talked about this yet, but this has been on the whip list for quite a while. This is a pattern by Bird Brain Designs, and it's called Snow Happenings. Isn't that cute? It is embroidered, and then you build this little quilt around it. I did something that I haven't done in so long with this. I actually hand quilted it. And at first, because I haven't hand quilted in so many years, those stitches, and they're mainly, I did this swirly kind of wind over the snowman, and those inside stitches they're huge. They are not even, but you know what? They kind of just blend in there. And as I came along to the edges, I was quilting better, and I actually had a moment that I thought, I might hand quilt a quilt again someday. But that is Snow Happens. You see his little sign? Because I always have to have a story. When I got this quilt top done, I decided I did want to do the swirly wind. And, I really could have just drawn it out if I'd paid some attention to it. But I found this template that you could lay over it and use, and it was perfect. Well, I got the template in the mail and realized that it was not a normal template for quilting. It was made by Pounce. You know that product, Pounce? It's like a chalk. It almost looks like a big sponge kind of thing, and it's a chalk. And you lay the template on, and then you pat this chalky pad on, and the chalk falls in the lines. Well, I used light blue, and I did do a test sample, and it brushed off. But when I went to use it on this, it didn't brush off. And that blue, well, I ended up soaking this quilt, which I really didn't want to do because of the sew. These blues can really run, and embroidery floss can really run. But I soaked it when I noticed that there was one fabric in particular that was starting to bleed a little. So when I noticed that, I pulled it out. But the blue didn't, about half of the blue came out, the chalk. I would say this, I wouldn't use it again, but if you use it on say a bed quilt that you're going to be washing, I wouldn't hesitate, because it will wash out if you take a quilt and throw it in the laundry. Because of the sort of delicateness of this, I did not put it in the laundry. So there is sort of, in the quilting in the middle, you see the shadow of a light blue. Probably if I don't tell you, you'd never know that. But I would just beware of that product. And it does say on the product to test it, which I did. And it does say that you should only use it on a quilt that you're going to wash. And that's, sometimes you have to believe what you hear, right? So here's my last finish. We made this little project bag. See, it has the zipper on the top. This was a little, this was a Christmas, or obviously a Santa quilt block that actually came from a friend who passed away, and her family was giving her friend some of her things from the workroom. And they gave me this, and I thought it was hers. I thought it was Helen's. But as I decided, I wanted to do something kind of special with this. So I thought a project bag for Christmas projects would be nice. But as I started to quilt it and play with it, I found some initials here. And they weren't my friend's initials. They were not Helen's initials. It was somebody else. So somebody made this and gave this to her, the block. I have no idea who it is, but thank you very much, whoever it is, whoever MOC is, who made this in 1995. Thank you. It's still special. So I made a project bag for a Christmas project. So that leads me to starts. So this is my first start. Well, the bag is kind of a start and a finish. But inside the bag, I started my new Prairie Schooler Santa. And here he is. This is the Quilting Santa. And again, it's on 14 count Aida in oatmeal with the called for DMC colors. This is the pattern. I got this is the one I'm doing with the quilt, the Santa with the quilt. This is a combination pattern from Prairie Schooler of 3 of their older Santas. This one in particular, the Quilting Santa, is from 2005. But it has the other 3, which is great. So yes, I've got a good start. I thought I'd better do the starts and finish show quickly because I'm almost finished with this. So I mostly just have to do a little fill in and then do the quilt, which I'm excited about. So another Santa for the collection. My next start is, I'm very excited about this. The minute I got this sweater off the needles, I cast on another one. And this one I've been wanting to do for so long. I think I say that with all of them, but I've really been dying to make this one. This pattern is Pinewood Sweater by Andrea Yetman. Isn't it gorgeous? Oh, I love the colors for this. And here are my colors. And here is how I started. Ooh, I'm really liking it on the screen. Oh, I'm so thrilled with this pattern. And I learned something new. First of all, it's a free pattern. I mean, what a deal. It's a nice pattern for a free pattern. And they have you do a folded collar, which I'd never done before. And I had to, go to YouTube, and Very Pink Knits, I swear, has the best YouTube instructional videos of anybody around. I did look at several of them just to kind of get a better idea, but I really love hers, and I was able to just follow along and do what she said. But doesn't that make for a beautiful collar? So much better than just sort of a raw, like this one is just a raw, this is the cast on. And if you don't do it perfectly, it doesn't always look great, but oh, this I loved. So I am very, very excited about doing this sweater. And once I finish all this lovely color work, then there's a small panel of just plain stockinette. And then there's that wonderful, some sort of cabling or, I know I've seen some people call it lace, some other people call it cabling. I do think you need a cable needle, so I'll call it cabling. But I can't wait. So I'm almost finished with that second row, or excuse me, the third row of color, and then I have this final small row of color, and it's great, very exciting. And the yarn I'm using, well, this makes it even better. The yarn I'm using is my favorite. This is Magpie Fiber Swanky DK, which I've said before is, I think it's my favorite yarn. It is so yummy. It is so soft. It is so beautiful. And then this, look at the colors here. I mean, oh, that's the messy end. Isn't it gorgeous? It's like greens and blues and goldy yellows and a little bit of cream and a little mustard, a little bit of, a tiny bit of the brown, sort of close, pretty close to this golden brown. Can you tell I'm happy? I love this. Oh, I should say, this yarn is from, oh, it's French, and I don't do well with that. Biscotti yarns or biscotti. I don't think it's biscotti. That's Italian, right? Biscotti. Biscotti. Here. That's the company. Excuse me while I squint. And the yarn is their DK Pure. And it's just as nice, just as soft. Really, it's almost like it could be from the same company. Beautiful, beautiful yarn. My last start is a quilting start. And I don't really have anything to show you yet, but I've started working on my George and Gracie portrait. You know, my chocolate labs I've discussed before. You've heard all about George and Gracie. So what I've done so far is not very impressive, but I've traced their photo. I've enlarged their photo. Now, this isn't the enlargement, this is the tracing. And I've got the tracing print penciled onto a piece of muslin fabric. So now I'll start picking fabrics and working on directly on that muslin fabric. And yeah, I'm excited about starting that too. It took me a while. I think I have trouble. It's so sad to lose a dog, as many of you know, when you lose pets. And it takes me a while to be able to work on these quilts that honor them, because it's painful. I mean, it's very sad. But now I'm at the point where I can look at their pictures and I can look at the drawing I have and pick fabric, and I can really, and it makes me happy because I think of them and how much fun they were and how much joy they brought to our house. What I've started to do with this portrait quilt of George and Gracie is I've started to make short videos, clips of my process. So, you know, directly from choosing the photo to tracing to enlarging, how I go about that, picking out fabric, and what my process is. Now, I'm probably going to have, you know, tons of video on it, but I'm going to cut it back to the most useful information. But I hope to continue that, and that's going to be a long process. It takes me a while to get through these. And as I go along, I'll make the video. Then at the end, I'll cut it up and present to you the most important information and hopefully the final result of the George and Gracie quilt. So I'm excited about doing that. My next episode, which will be episode 12, I think is going to be my Thanksgiving episode. And I have multiple Thanksgiving quilts. I'm not sure I have other projects. I don't think I have any cross stitch or Thanksgiving knitting or anything. So it's probably going to be a quilting episode, but I have a ton of Thanksgiving quilts that I've made through the years. and I can't wait to show you that. So look for that within, a couple of weeks of this one. Okay, so now it's time for something old. So this something old, I'm a little late with this. I probably should have had it on the last episode, but I know it's a little late, but this is a sweatshirt. Obviously, it's a sweatshirt. It's a store-bought sweatshirt that I made into a Halloween sweatshirt. And I just zigzag stitched the pumpkins and put a little embroidery on it. And their eyes are made from buttons. I just sewed buttons on. The instruction was on the bottom of the sweatshirt and on the sleeves. The instruction was to just cut the band off, the stretchy band, and then just take the edge and roll it up. And then do a little overcast. It's not an overcast stitch. It's sort of like an X. I don't know what the stitch is called, but it's just like you make these X's to catch the ends of the raw edge of the sweatshirt. And it worked out really great. I actually would love to make like a Christmas one, but I came across this, and I wear it probably once a year at Halloween. I didn't even wear it this year because, of course, there were no kids around. And but I think it's adorable, isn't it? And it not my idea. This was a pattern, and I couldn't believe I actually found the pattern. It is from Bloomin' Minds. I'd never heard of this company until I saw this. Bloomin' Minds, and it's called Pumpkin Party. On the pattern, you can see above the pumpkins, it says, what does it say? Pumpkin Party. Pumpkin Party. Right here. I decided not to do that because I just thought it looked good just as is. But there it is. There's something old. And it was made, I'm not quite sure, but I would say, let's see, the pattern is from 2000. Oh, I'm surprised. Okay, it's not that old, but still, 20 years. I guess that's old. I probably made it around the time, after it came out, so it was probably around 2000 that I made it. I classify it as old. So there you go. Well, that's it for today. Thank you so much for stopping in. Shout out again to Davina of Little Workroom Crafts. Thank you again so very much for your kind words. Thank you to all my new subscribers. I can't believe it. And thank you also to everyone who stopped by to watch this. I hope you're all well, doing well, and continue to do well. And until next time, I hope all of your stitches bring joy.